Hello, everyone who is already here. Yes, please shout out in the comments. Hello from Texas, Bethlehem, Maryland, myself. We have Hawaii in the house, Illinois. Hello from the Netherlands. We love our global community all coming together, focusing on health, fulfillment, and convenience. And today we are going to be addressing just that as we ask the question, how can we save time? How can we save effort in the kitchen and still make delicious, scrumptious, and healthful meals? And we are pleased always to have the amazing Chef AJ here today to dive into the subject of pressure cooking. Hi, AJ. How are you doing?
Hi. So good to see you. Welcome, everybody.
We have, AJ, the whole world is tuning in because everyone gets so excited to watch you in the kitchen. We know your facility when it comes to food, and this is really what it's all about. Healthy eating can be easy eating, easy cooking, and fulfilling lifestyle. What are we going to be addressing today?
Well, we're going to be addressing pressure cooking. And I agree with you, Stephen, because, ever since I started teaching cooking 25 years ago, my premise was that I teach people how to make healthy eating quick and easy, delicious, and fun. And I don't know any easier way to do that than with an electric pressure cooker. And a lot of people are afraid of them. And I'm thinking, do you drive a car? And if they drive a car, it is much scarier to drive a car than it is to use a pressure cooker. And I think the reason could be because back in the day, there was only the stovetop ones, and people have heard stories of their grandmothers exploding. I promise you, I've never heard a case of that happening with the electric one. If it did, there'd probably be some huge lawsuit. We would have heard them. These things are very safe. They're very affordable, so affordable, and they last so long that the company actually went out of business. Some of them did because they're just amazing. And I actually have 3 of them. At one point, when I was teaching cooking, I had 6. And I don't know how I could get healthy food on the table as quickly as I do if I didn't use a pressure cooking. And it's one of the not only safest ways, quickest ways, but actually also, Dr. Greger has done videos about this, retaining the nutrients. And so what I'd like to do is show 3 really quick and easy recipes. And I'm not going to do recipes I can, I do wonderful recipes like apple pie rice pudding and lentil chili, but I'm going to just show the technique of how, when you use an electric pressure cooker, things that would take you an hour on the stove that you would have to babysit will take minutes. And I think one of the best things about the pressure cooker is, with very few exceptions, and I say this because if you're cooking kale or zucchini, you don't want to just leave it there for hours, with it on, it'll turn to mush. But with very few exceptions, the beautiful thing about pressure cooking is you literally can set it and forget it, which means that in longer recipes, not these, because these are quick, I could take my dog for a walk. I could take a nap. I could take a bath, because what happens is it actually has like a crock pot setting or a warming setting, and it just kind of turns itself off to warm. And so they're very safe. I've left the house with it on, but this is great because what I'm going to show you, when I was little, my mom used to make artichokes, and I love artichokes. They're probably my favorite vegetable. But if you do them on the stove, you need a huge pot of water, and to boil the amount of water, unless you're at a restaurant where, working at a restaurant where it's always hot, it takes forever to boil that much water. And then to cook these 4 artichokes, it would take a minimum of 45 minutes, sometimes more. With the electric pressure cooker, it takes 7 minutes. And when I say 7 minutes, it's not 7 minutes from this moment of time, 7 minutes from when it comes up to pressure. And to make that even faster, all you have to do is start with some boiling water. A lot of people have these little tea kettles now, so I just turn this on. And all I'm going to do is it doesn't even matter. I don't measure. I'm just going to pour a little bit of water. You have to have some liquid, whether it's water or broth, for pressure cooking to work. And that's the only way you could probably ruin or hurt your pressure cooker. So I have my 4 beautiful artichokes, and I could season these, by the way. You can put spices in the water. Sometimes I put smoked paprika or chipotle powder in the water, and then it kind of infuses it. But since I'm going to show you a really quick and easy dipping sauce for it, I decided to keep it plain. One thing about the pressure cooker, is if you just imagine that this was a clock and this was 12 o'clock, I see a lot of people struggling to get the lid on. If you just know, because a lot of times everybody has a digital clock now, but if you remember the old-fashioned clocks, with 12 over here, if you always go to 11 o'clock, it goes on very easily. And then the only other thing you have to know is sealing or venting. So if you're going to be pressure cooking, you want to make sure if you seal it, and that is usually away from you. Now, the way I do pressure cooking made easy is that I never read the book. I have no idea what all these multiple buttons are. Some people might have time to do that, but I do know one button which says pressure cook, and that's really all you need to know. And then the up and down button, which is the time. So I press the pressure cook button. This was preset for 10 minutes because not obviously, but the last recipe I did was 10. 7 is enough. So I just put it at 7 minutes, and then in a second it's going to beep, and that little beep is just going to be like, "Hey, lady, are you sure?"
Ready.
Yeah, there we go. That's just kind of telling me. So it's not going to be 7 minutes from now, but you could time it. It's not going to be too much longer because I started with boiling water. Now, this basket is something,
AJ, it's not going to be 45 minutes, right? We're really.
Oh, it's not going to be. I don't even think it's going to be 10. But we can kind of look at how it's. And also, here's the other thing. Boiling water. Sometimes it splatters. I get burned. It hits my dog. I just. Got to dirty a pot. With pressure cooking, you literally have like that one insert. It's like incredible. So yeah, and it takes forever to, watch pot never boils, but to boil water enough to cook 4 artichokes, we're talking, this is going to be an hour ordeal. And what's great about pressure cooking also, it allows you to batch cook because it's just so much faster. This happens to be the 8-quart. The 6-quart is the most common size that most people seem to start with, which is great. I just like a little bit bigger because then I can fit 4 artichokes in. They even have a 10-quart, but the next 2 recipes, we're going to use the baby one, the mini one, the 3-quart. This is an accessory that you can buy, and I could have used these for the artichokes. It would make it very easy to come out, but then I would have only been able to fit 3 in. And this is great. For example, when I am steaming potatoes to make mashed potatoes, this is the easiest way that I know of because it doesn't require me to boil this huge pot of water. So now we're going to do something that takes an hour for sure, and that is cooking oat groats. Oat groats are delicious. If you've never had them, if you like oatmeal, I would really encourage you to try the whole oat groat. It's not only more delicious, but in my opinion, it's more delicious. It has a toothsome quality that is more like rice. It's heartier, but the problem is, unlike rolled oats, which you can, microwave for a minute in your microwave, oat groats can take an hour to cook on the stove or longer if in the slow cooker. But if you use the electric pressure cooker, it takes 5 minutes. So I have my little 3-quart electric pressure cooker, and then I have my whole oat groats, which you can get not only online, but in many stores. Whole Foods, Sprouts often has them. Winco often has them in bulk.
Yep.
For sure, you can get them on Amazon. This actually looks like rice. And this is what the oat groat actually looks like before it's cut into the steel cut oat or flattened in steam into the rolled oat or further processed into the instant oat. And this is really the healthiest way to eat it. And I really do believe the most nutritious. And it doesn't always have to be sweet. We are going to make a version with some blueberries, but you can use this as a substitute for rice. And some people avoid rice for a variety of reasons, the arsenic. But you can substitute whole oat groats for rice. So you're just going to put it. Yeah, you're just going to put it in your pressure cooker. I am going to make this a little bit sweet. I'm going to add some blueberries. So this won't be a savory one, but you totally can. And some spices. I love cinnamon and I love vanilla powder. And that's it. And then I have my water. This is such a great gift my friend Sarah gave me because it's like I can have boiling water in just a minute or so.
And that's what it's all about.
And here's the thing.
Everywhere.
Now, you could start with cold water or even room temperature water, but it's going to come up to pressure much quicker if you start with boiling water. So I did the same thing I did before, 11 o'clock, close it, move the little valve away from me sealing, press the pressure cook button, 5 minutes, done. So the next thing is corn on the cob. And corn on the cob, it's the same idea. You have to have this huge pot of boiling water. Of course, you could probably do it on the grill if you have a grill, but some people are afraid to use grills. And it's 34 degrees where I live, so I don't have a grill, but I ain't going outside to cook. Let me tell you that right now. So what we're going to do is just use our sweet organic corn. Now, I could have put more in here. That's the truth, but there's just 2 of us here, so I'm making 4 of these.
Perfect.
And it could do the same thing, putting spices in the water. Now, it comes with this little rack, which I could have used. It would have raised the corn up. But I find for corn, it's It's really not that hard to get it out with your tongs. So it's fine to do it that way. And then again, I don't even have to measure. I just have to have a little water in there to get it to work. I don't know, maybe that was a quarter cup. And believe it or not, 0 minutes. That's less than 1 minute. So I press pressure cook and then I go to 0. And you're going to start hearing some beeps when these things are ready, and they're going to be ready. And so now I have so many vegetables that I can eat today. With my lunch, I can have the corn. With my dinner, I can have the artichokes. Artichokes are not only delicious warm, but they're also delicious chilled. Yeah. So we'll see which one comes up to pressure first, but that's how easy it is. And it's not just for making these whole ingredients. You can make beans in no time. You can cook pretty much any grain, millet, rice, quinoa takes about 1 minute, even though it's a quick cooking grain on the stove for 10 minutes, 1 minute in the pressure cook. So, if you're somebody that has time issues, there's no better way to get healthy food ready fast. And after you ask me a few questions, I actually have a little sauce recipe here that I'm going to make for dipping the artichokes in, because, if you're familiar with ordering artichokes at a restaurant, usually they'll come with butter, like, drawn butter or some kind of very heavy mayonnaise-y type of aioli dip. And I'm going to make a faux peanut sauce, which is what I love to dip them into. And that's the thing, when you're pressure cooking, or batch cooking in general, using the pressure cooker, like I said, I can go do something else right now, but also I can use the time to make some other recipes, and I will be making this sauce recipe. But I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions, or if they have any obstacles or fears that are keeping them from pressure cooking. Because I know when we were talking about this class, I saw people say, well, I've had one in the box for 2 years. And it's like, there really is nothing to be afraid of. I mean, they're safer than driving a car. I can tell you that.
Hey, well, you know what? Whether we're on the road with our cars or in the kitchen, we want to make sure that we are doing things as optimally as possible. We do have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to put that out there for everyone watching. Also, share in the comments. Will this be your first time using a pressure cooker? Have you used a pressure cooker before, or is this brand new territory? We are in amazing hands with Chef AJ. Chef AJ, are Instapots considered pressure cookers?
Yes. So it's kind of like, how like we talk about Xeroxing, where really we're saying photocopying, but Xerox kind of cornered the market. Or, it's like, so all Kleenexes are tissues, but not all tissue are the Kleenex brand. But a lot of people won't say, hand me a tissue. They'll say, hand me a Kleenex. And because Instant Pot took the world by storm, a lot of people just use that word. They're wonderful. There's other brands you can use. And, there's another thing that a lot of people might not realize. What an electric pressure cooker can do is it can also have air fryer technology. Yes. So I have a Breville, so I don't use my pressure cooker for air frying. But for people that are uncertain and don't want to commit to it, you can buy something that goes in your pressure cooker that will also serve as an air fryer. So that's kind of cool. And, I got to be honest, I've never had one not work. Ever. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how long I've had this. And actually, one time, the reason I have 2 baby ones is I thought the baby one was broken. And somebody had given me for my birthday this year a gift certificate on Amazon, and I bought the other one. And before, it comes like the same day now. And my friend Trish said, oh, you just need to change the fuse. And she looked it up on YouTube. So now I mean, I've never seen them go bad, quite honestly. They're built so well.
Overall, easy to use, especially knowing if you're just using the basic buttons, you can expand from there. AJ, what considerations would you say to someone new to pressure cooking when it comes to the specific size that they should buy?
Yeah. Well, first of all, please don't be afraid, because I used to be afraid. I don't know. I think I started pressure cooking probably 15 years ago. But a friend of mine who happened to be this busy attorney, she had like 3 of them. She said, just come over. I'll show you how to use them. And she basically did for me what I'm doing for you right now. I think she might have done beans, but I'm like, my gosh, this is like so easy. So I think you have to realize like how big your family is, for example. So if you're a single person, you might not need the 8-quart or the 10-quart. But I would still argue that we always want to get the biggest and the best we can afford, because if you're going to be doing batch cooking, remember, you can always do a small recipe in a big unit, but you can't do a big one in a smaller unit. So what I love about the 3-quart is it's very small. It fits in the cabinet. I don't travel with it anymore, but when I did, it felt very comfortable. It fit under the seat. But I would say you might probably want to get at least a 6. But, the difference in price between a 6 and an 8 quart isn't so much that why not just splurge for the 8 quart? If one of my pressure cookers ever go bad again, I am going to get the 10 quart, because to me, bigger is better, because we have a lot of potlucks here and I love the idea of batch cooking. So the thing about the 6 quart, it's fine. It's just that I find that because I like to make big recipes, for example, the cauliflower bisque is a very popular recipe I make. And one of the things that I teach in pressure cooking, something already came up, that beep means that the artichokes are now up to pressure, and it's going to be 7 minutes from now. And by the way, up to pressure means is when the internal combustion gets to, I believe it's 247 degrees Fahrenheit, because 212 is boiling.
Right.
And so I like the idea. I used to teach cooking to the blind at the Braille Institute. And while blind people can learn to use knives and do everything that we do cooking, I found, isn't it easier if we could just throw everything in and then take a stick or immersion blender and blend it? So most of my recipes are based on this philosophy of throwing everything in. That way you also save time, because you're not having to cut things up. And, a lot of people, it's funny because people love my cauliflower bisque, and they see me take a 2-pound head of cauliflower and literally put it in uncut with with a giant 2-pound sweet potato on cup. And they're like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? Well, you can do that if you have a larger pressure cooker. If you have the 6 quart, you're probably going to have to cut it up a little. But also, a lot of people don't realize that the green leaves that surround the cauliflower, they're not only edible, but they're nutritious and delicious. So you actually, I feel like you have less food waste when you use a pressure cooker. And I don't know, I just can't say enough about them, because they changed my life, and as much as I love.
Yeah. So for people who are getting in it right at the beginning and taking all of these gems to go, okay, this is my introductory pathway into it. We have a couple of intro questions just involving lowering the heat. Is there a way to lower the heat on the saute function?
Okay, that is a great question, and I do not believe there is. I mean, I'd have to look that up, but that's the thing. The only buttons that change are the time buttons, where you can adjust things. So I don't believe you can. So I'm going to just tell you personally that I generally don't saute in the pressure cooker, because it takes longer. And that means that it's not very high heat. And I've done side-by-side comparisons once. For example, I have a recipe called black bean mushroom chili, where I have done it the normal way, where I just throw everything in and push the button, or I've taken that extra, then I tell you, 30 minutes to saute the onion and the mushrooms, and people can't seem to find a flavor difference. Now, if you're sauteing onions and mushrooms as a standalone recipe or to put on a plant burger, it makes a big difference. But I haven't found that sauteing in recipes that use the pressure cooker, it seems to add a lot of time and effort for not much return on flavor. But I don't believe you can adjust it, because that's probably why it takes 30 minutes for me to saute onions when I do it, because it's probably a very low heat compared to if you just did it on a pan on the stove.
Right. So certain times, especially with sauteing, we can keep it on the stovetop. We're really optimizing our time by bringing these types of things that we're doing today into the pressure cooker. Can you talk a little bit more about the dial, and should it be turned towards venting, and the whole process of that?
Yeah. So if you want to pressure cook, and there's things that you can do that are not pressure cooking, for example, you can use it as a slow cooker. I have found that is not very efficient. It's very slow, because the whole idea of pressure cooking is to expedite things. And also, let's face it, I mean, you can get a really good slow cooker for less than $20 still at Walmart, and so that if I'm ever going to do slow cookers, and I generally don't do slow cooking, because with slow cooking, you have to know that it's not going to be ready for 6 to 8 hours. With pressure cooking, it could be ready in 6 to 8 minutes. So if you're going to use your slow cooker, you either got to put it up the night before you go to bed, or in the morning before you go to work. What I think slow cookers are great for is for Super Bowl parties. You've made all this chili and you want to keep it warm, but you need your pressure cooker for something else, and maybe you don't have two, and you can transfer it to that. So the venting and sealing, for pressure cooking, it always has to be sealed. It always has to be sealed. And I should have mentioned this when I didn't. When you heard that little singular beep where I said, oh, now it's up to pressure, that little metal button, and in this case it's red, it's silver over there, popped up. And what that means is that no matter how strong I am, even Patrick Barboubian, the vegan strongest man in the world, cannot open this pressure cooker when it's under pressure, which is why these are extremely safe. And I haven't heard, I mean, the only thing I've heard with pressure cooking is somebody once said they dropped it on their toe. Well, I mean, come on, of course that's going to hurt, but they don't explode. They're very safe. And there's really hardly anything to clean. And that's another reason I love them so much. So you can always, if for some reason, like, let's just say you like your food a little, I like things more al dente, right? I don't like things mushy. So the corn on the cob is going to have a nice little bite. But let's say you say 0 minutes. Guess what? You can put it back and then just do it again for another minute. Uh-oh.
Oh. Speaking of pressure cooking, it looks like the camera for at least a moment may have gotten a little hot. Are you there? Can we hear you still? AJ, can you say something? Okay. Hey, I think we're getting you back. I think right now we're seeing internal temp high, allow it to cool, and that is perfect for the conversation that we are having when it comes to pressure cooking. But of course, we hope to hear a nice little beep and get you back on the other end. If you can still hear me, AJ, just give a shout whenever you happen to come back. But I think this also might be a perfect time while we are waiting for our artichokes, for our oats, and for our corn. Before we start our sauce, this is probably a perfect time to continue ahead and say, this webinar, what you are seeing right now, is not just for taking in with the eyes and going, okay, now I have to learn everything with a pressure cooker. We are excited to talk about something really, really special that Chef AJ created. And it is an amazing series that will take you even deeper into the tips, the tricks, and the strategies for making sure that you can be as much of a pressure cooking pro as Chef AJ is. We have Corey over here with us. You would recognize this duo from any of the Forks Fridays that we are on. Corey, I would love to share a bit more about this series with the crew. Is now a good time to talk about it? Oh, I got you muted also.
Okay, I'm here. My sound works. I'm here. Listen, Stephen, we are live right now, and we are live across YouTube on AJ's channel and live on the Forks Over Knives YouTube channel. Yeah. And sometimes life happens. The truth is, there was a national outage on Facebook, and so Facebook, it didn't even work. There's a global outage right now on Facebook, and I do see AJ. AJ, we're going to bring you back in, but it is a perfect time. I want her to get through these recipes, but
of course.
I just had to come on and let you know. Okay.
Yeah, AJ, please. I absolutely appreciate that. We are getting Chef AJ back. Hello again. Hey, listen, when the pressure gets
just
hot,
to be clear, it was the camera that overheated, not the pressure cooker.
Yes. No, we everything that you shared before.
They're all going off now. They're like, due to the technical difficulty while we were changing cameras, we've had two things come up to pressure and be ready. And if you like, I can show you how we finish them.
I think everyone would love to see the finishing result of everything. We'll get the camera fully on you so that we can get a perfect view.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so while you were talking, the artichokes became ready. And like I said, you can set it, you can forget it. I don't like to have vegetables continue to cook. So what I do is when it's ready, I am going to unplug the pressure cooker. Now it's different if I'm making a soup, a stew, a chili for a potluck or a party, then it's fine. I let it keep, it's not going to make a difference. But for vegetables, I do like to release the pressure right away, especially if they're tender vegetables like things like zucchini or greens. So all you do is you now take this little, I call it a bird's beak because that's what it looks like, and you press it towards yourself, that's called venting. Now, if you don't want it to go all the way up on your ceiling, depending on where you have it located in your kitchen, maybe you have cabinets, you can get a little diverter, or you can just buy a piece of PVC pipe at Home Depot. And then that way, the steam will go to both sides. Give yourself a nice little facial. It smells, I love the smell of cooked artichoke. And if I hadn't put the seasonings in, I would have smelled that as well. How long it takes for the pressure to release will depend on how full the unit was. And there was very little water in this, so this should release right away. That little metal button will not come down until the pressure is relieved. That's what keeps it safe. And this is releasing very quickly. But when I make something like a big pot of chili, it might take a couple of minutes to release. And so then I take the top off And there's these two little things on the side so that you can put this right there, because a lot of times people put them by their stove, and I've known people to burn them. You can see this really won't even have to be washed. I'll wipe it out. It has a little ring here. You can buy extra rings because sometimes people maybe make a real strong chili and it might get darkened, or then they want to do a sweet recipe. The ring does sometimes darken or get a little smell. I've never actually changed them, but you can do that if you want. And then we're going to be making a sauce recipe to go with it, but you can just take your little tongs and then you just put it on your plate.
Wow.
And then you have these perfect artichokes in 7 minutes instead of 47 minutes.
Big difference.
As long as I'm standing right here, I may as well make the little sauce recipe that's going to go with it. This is called Thai peanut-free sauce. I love peanut sauce, but peanuts are just, for me, very high in fat, and I don't use them, but you can if you want. But I have a great app for you. You can get these always online, but often at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sprouts. I've even seen them in Winco. These are chestnuts, and they're especially prevalent this time of year. These are a very, very low fat nut, but they're creamy and they just make excellent sauces or snacks. And I'm just going to place it in my blender, which just has some water and a few dates for soaking. Traditional peanut sauce are very high fat sugar and salt. The fat from the peanuts, the sugar from usually the maple syrup or a different type of sugar, and the salt from the soy sauce. So we're not going to use any of that. We're going to keep it SOS free, but we're going to keep all the traditional flavors. So we've got some lime juice. And again, I'm all about quick and easy. I just use bottled organic lime juice. Always. The third one is ready now.
Yeah.
Always. And I think we haven't even gone like a half hour and we've got all 3 recipes done. A little bit of unsweetened rice vinegar. I've got some garlic and some ginger. I keep these in my freezer, and I buy those little cubed things that have just garlic and just ginger because I don't use a lot of it. And that way it never goes bad. And I actually save time and money doing that. We're going to add that. Traditionally, it has a little bit of heat. My husband does not like heat. So instead of the half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes it calls for, I'm only going to be putting in 1/8. If you're making it for kids, maybe you won't put any in. And we're just going to blend this. I'm just going to blend this till it's smooth. Perfect. But what you can do if you have a high-powered blender is let it run for about 3 minutes, and then your sauce is hot. And when we use this sauce like for a dinner over steamed vegetables, we like to heat it that way. And again, we're not having to go to the stove and dirty another pot. I'm also about saving time cleaning up. And by using one thing to make one recipe, like the blender, like the pressure cooker, I'm not cleaning a lot of pots and pans. And since I tend to not cut anything up anyway, I'm not going to have to clean a knife or a cutting board.
This is absolutely fantastic, AJ. It's so wonderful to know that we can prepare a full feast in this short amount of time with a much more minimal cleanup than is normally needed. We don't have a ton of different pans on the stove. We have our pressure cookers. We have our blender. It looks so good.
Because it's lower in fat, there is no sugar or salt. You can really indulge to your heart's content. And of course, if you have other sauces you like, I've known people that use artichokes dipped in ranch dressing. It's whatever you like. I think these are so good I can eat them plain. So let's go look at what else we made over there.
And thank you for serving that to us. We feel that much more ready to go with enjoying and making.
Our corn on the cob is ready. And since I only cooked it 0 minutes, I don't mind if it sits for a little bit. But again, I unplug it. So I can't unplug it because my husband plugged it in real good. But I'm going to take my diverter again. And this one doesn't have a bird's beak. The newer ones is sometimes just like a little up and down. But again, look how quickly the pressure released because I didn't have that much water in it. And this is perfect corn every time. If any of you make the recipe for the Forks Over Knives cheese sauce, which is one of the best cheese sauce recipes. I mean, if you don't have the meal planner, I don't know how you get dinner ready. The recipes are unparalleled and so easy to make. Corn with their cheese sauce just slathered on top is amazing. And it's just really easy to get out. I did use the rack, but I didn't have to. And it's just so easy to cook like this. And there's so many things you can make. And again, these are just simple one ingredient things I'm showing you basically, but all your wonderful complicated or more complicated recipes, you can bake a cake if you want using a pressure cooker. You can make, like I said, all kinds of soups, stews, chilies, puddings. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And of course, just batch, Dr. Alan Goldhammer's wife was afraid of one too. And I gave her my 6 quart as a present. And she's like, I don't really cook, but now that's all they use to make their beans. And the same thing with Chef Bravo at True North. He's like, I'm a real chef. I don't use a pressure cooker. But when people see how easy it is, it doesn't taste any different to do beans for 2.5 hours on the stove and then pressure cooker. So this is just so cool. Now, as far as the groats are concerned,
yes,
this is one recipe. I am going to let this come down to pressure naturally. If you really want me to open it, I will. But I am told by the experts, Tammy Kramer of Nutmeg Notebook and Sharon McCrae, that it's better unless, okay, so one of the reasons I don't like rolled oats is I don't like mushy or what I call glucky food. And so by letting it just settle for like about an hour, it's going to make it much thicker and much more toothsome. But if you really want me to open it, I will, to show you. And
let's take a look if we can.
In a little bit of time, it'll be better.
Yeah.
This is weird that it's still, it's plugged in over here. Yeah, but I do unplug it. And the word coming down to pressure naturally simply means that I haven't released the pressure, and in its own time, that little silver button or red button will come down on its own so that I can open it, and then that will be ready. And if you see pressure cooking recipes, sometimes they will say natural pressure release or quick release. So quick release is what I showed you on these two. I immediately released it as close to being ready as possible, whereas natural pressure release is just, it will do it in its own time. And so most of the time, I'm not like needing to eat the second it's ready, with the exception of maybe if I'm cooking vegetables or greens.
Sure.
So I usually do the natural pressure release. And what I love is my husband, like me, we eat vegetables as part of our breakfast. And so I actually do it the night before every day. And then, the pressure cooker's going all day here. It's my primary way to cook. I don't even really use my oven anymore. I have an air fryer that I use as my oven, but I would say that this is my primary and preferred way to cook. When I do travel, we always take it because, even with Airbnbs, you don't always have a pressure cooker with you. Right. Or hotels. I teach cooking at Rancho La Puerta. I do these retreats, and I got them, turned on to the pressure cooker. So now when we're teaching cooking, we can use it then. But it's very simple. And like I say, it's not even like I could pick this up. It's not even hot.
Yeah.
And
even the biggest one.
I mean, I will wash this, but there's really going to be nothing to clean per se. Obviously, if there was a soup or stew or chili, then, of course, I would wash it more vigorously. But you can keep doing it, too. Like, if I had to cook more artichokes right now, I could just do it. It's just so much faster than the old-fashioned way that my mom did. I mean, I wish she was alive to see, like, you can have artichokes in, like, 10 minutes instead of an hour.
AJ, this was absolutely fantastic to know.
We can't hear you for some reason now.
Oh, you can't hear me.
I hope you can hear us.
I can hear you. I think everyone can hear you. And I do believe my volume's off. I think it's just our volume that is off.
Just so you know, Stephen, if you could hear what I just said, nod.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
I just can't hear you at all. So if you know, like, sign language, it's
okay. Well, yes. And that's probably going to make it a little bit tougher for the next part. But
when you want me to go, just say go or something like this. But I believe you're telling people about the series that we did together, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. I don't have the exact recipe count. I think it's almost 50, but they're more complicated than this. I mean, there are some very easy ones, but I kind of just take you through how I would create a meal based around something that I'm doing in the pressure cooker. So if I have, like, for example, if I'm making sushi rice, then I might show you how I'm going to make the sushi nachos or the deconstructed sushi bowls or other things, because while the pressure cooker is cooking, you can do other things. You can be listening to your favorite podcast, or you'll be watching a Forks Over Knives webinar, or you could be making more recipes to complete the meal. And so the series has 8 modules, and with each one, we kind of just go through different recipes that you can make in the pressure cooker, and that will give you, I think, more options and maybe more confidence. The only way you're going to get over any fear of using the pressure cooker is to use it. And I hope I showed you today
that it's not hard to use. My husband can use it. Okay. He actually can. He knows how to he doesn't do a lot of recipes, but he knows how to steam his own cruciferous crunch in it. And, makes great broth, by the way. So at those of you that like save scraps from cooking, you can put in a Ziploc bag all your scraps. And then when you get enough, a full bag, you just place it in your pressure cooker with, I believe it's 8 cups of water without looking at the recipe, and, you know, maybe a bay leaf, and you've got free
Super
broth.
simple.
You know, broth can cost, oh my gosh, $5.99 for a box of broth. Seriously, you can make free broth. There's many things you can do with a pressure cooker. You would be.
And I think that's what is so special about this series over here, with everything that AJ shared with you and everything that we are seeing on our screen. There are multiple modules that we cover from start to finish to make sure that, again, you can become a pro with pressure cooking. We started off with the artichokes, the oats, our corn, and our sauce. And we can just go through even a couple of these. We go from the basics all the way to soups and desserts. We cover one of Chef AJ's specialties, making date paste so that you can have sweetener whenever you want, along with rice of all kinds. The batch cooking saves immense amounts of time. And as Chef AJ is showing you, you can prepare full days, weeks of meals just from all of the pressure cooker use. We talked a little bit about cauliflower, and maybe we'll get a chance to hear a bit about some of Chef AJ's favorite cauliflower delights that she makes in the pressure cooker. So again, whether soups, salads, stews, rice, our comfort foods, to make sure what we're used to making in the oven and on the stove, we can save time with making it in our pressure cooker, a Mexican fiesta, and all of the flavor that exists there. And we're really using everything, our beans, our kale, and all of that is in this amazing series, which is offered to you for instant access for $67, only $67 for this instant access series with all of these tips, tricks, and strategies for pressure cooking. All you have to do is go to chefaj.com, click on that amazing top banner that has the Get Pressure Cooking Made Simple link. It's chefaj.com. Click on that banner. You will be taken to the page where you can read up more about what Chef AJ and I just talked about. And if you are already getting excited, if you're thinking about the holidays and knowing that this is going to help so immensely with the rest of the food that you make for December, we have a limited time bonus. If you register before Sunday at midnight, you will unlock Chef AJ's Sweet Indulgence Bootcamp. We had the pleasure of talking with Chef AJ a few weeks back about her new book, Sweet Indulgence, and all of these delicious desserts that also can be great for you. We're focusing on healthy, sweet, but not too sweet. We're talking about anywhere from the rich to the simple, and you can get this as an extra bonus with your pressure cooking series with Chef AJ. All you have to do is go to chefaj.com. Click on the banner. If you register before midnight, you get every module in the series, plus the Sweet Indulgence Bootcamp, to make sure that you know how to make the most healthful and scrumptious, delectable desserts. Chef AJ, this was so exciting. Where are we at with any of the other food items? Are we all good to go with everything? Oh. I know Chef AJ is checking a little bit over here. Yeah.
Hi. Okay.
This is fantastic.
Okay. I guess we're coming to an end. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but I hope this inspired you that if you already have a pressure cooker, please start using it. And if you don't, maybe consider getting one, because I think it will change your life.
And for anyone who asked questions in the comments, the answers most definitely exist in this amazing series, along with all of the other information. You can always reach out to us at customer service at Forks Over Knives. You can definitely reach AJ at chefaj.com. We really hope you enjoyed everything here. And here's to saving time and eating most healthfully and deliciously. Thank you, Chef AJ.
I sure wish I could relive. Thanks all to